The rain fell softly at first, then with growing confidence, as if the sky had finally decided to say everything it had been holding back. The old woman sat on the cold iron garden bench, her thin coat darkening as it absorbed the water. She did not move. She rarely did these days when memories came knocking. Her name was Ruth, though very few people still spoke it aloud. The garden belonged to the small house behind her, a house filled with quiet now. The roses along the fence drooped under the weight of the rain, their petals bruised but still clinging. Ruth watched them closely because they reminded her of herself, bent, weathered, yet stubbornly alive. The rain always brought the past with it. She closed her eyes, and the garden blurred into another time. She was younger then, her hair thick and dark, her hands unmarked by years of trembling. She remembered sitting at a kitchen table instead of a garden bench, the sound of rain against the window mixing with the sound of his footsteps, her husband's footsteps. Heavy, predictable, each step carried a warning she had learned to read too well.
He had not always been cruel. That was the hardest truth to carry. In the beginning, he had been charming, attentive, almost gentle. People admired them as a couple. "You're lucky," they used to say. Ruth had smiled and believed it, because believing was easier than questioning. But kindness can fade quietly, like color washed from fabric. His words had grown sharper before his hands ever did. Small insults at first, delivered casually as though they were jokes. Then anger, sudden and explosive, often followed by apologies that sounded sincere enough to keep her hoping. Hope, she would later learn, can be as dangerous as fear. The rain grew heavier, drumming on the leaves above her. Ruth's fingers tightened around the edge of the bench. She remembered the night she sat perfectly still, listening for signs of his mood, calculating her words before speaking them. She remembered how small the house had felt, how little space there was to breathe. Silence had been her shield, but it had never been strong enough. What hurt her most now was not the pain she endured, but the version of herself she lost, the woman who laughed loudly, the woman who trusted easily. That woman had slowly disappeared, replaced by someone cautious, apologetic, always bracing for impact. The rain slid down Ruth's face, mixing with tears she no longer tried to hide. She was old now, older than she ever imagined she would be back then. He was gone, first from her life, then from the world, but the memories remained, living quietly inside her, waiting for moments like this to rise again. Yet as she sat there, soaked and shivering, something else stirred within her. She had survived. That truth was solid and undeniable. She had left eventually, when fear finally gave way to exhaustion. It had taken years, and it had cost her much, but she had walked away. That act, small as it might have seemed to others, was the bravest thing she had ever done. The rain began to soften, easing into a gentle mist. Ruth opened her eyes and looked at the garden once more. The roses, though battered, still stood. Tomorrow they would lift their heads again. She slowly rose from the bench, her joints aching but her steps steady.
The past would always be a part of her, but it no longer owned her. As she turned toward the house, the rain finally stopped, leaving behind the clean, quiet promise of morning.